There being none, does anybody have a declaration of conflict of interest at this point of the meeting? There are no declarations of conflicts of interest. Moving on to agenda item 4, confirmation of minutes of the ordinary meeting, including the confidential minutes held on the 17th of March 2026. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Roundtree. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Bland. You'll close, Councillor Roundtree. The motion, all those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. There is no adjourned business. Moving to reports by members. Councillor Bland, as the acting mayor for the last month, have you got anything to add? Sorry, Councillor Roundtree, as acting mayor for the last month, have you got anything to add to your report?
No, I don't have anything to add.
Councillor Arthur?
Well, probably the only thing that is unusual, I suppose, is the box flat meeting. The person rep said there that they were working on a method of controlling gorillas. So I said to him, well, that's, it's 18 months, 2 years so far. Counting, but now it's got to go to someone else to get approved before they visit. So
Watch this space.
well, more are hitting Adelaide, so a chance more will get done.
Thank you. Are there any questions of either councillor regarding the report? There being none, we'll move on to petitions. I believe there are none. Moving on to agenda item 8, deputations. Councillors, you'll note in your agenda that there was a deputation from Mr. Chris Sams. He's no longer attending this morning, so we won't be having that. Public question time. We haven't had any questions submitted, so none there either. Moving on to decision reports. Decision report 1, being the Local Government Association Conference and Ordinary General Meeting. Councillors, are there any questions or points of clarifications before we deal with that?
It's a question, actually.
Councillor Roundtree.
Thank you, Mayor. When I noticed in the past we've made a recommendation, it was free in our action list to the LGA around whether we could do Zoom meetings in days of declared extreme fire emergency. It was in our action list that we were going to write to LGA. I'm just wondering, is this meeting where that would come up as a motion to be considered, or have we missed that timeline to get that in?
Governance Officer.
Could be raised in the motion for their AGM, which is later in the year. There's probably some other avenues as well in terms of advocacy that the LGA could do. I do note that that letter is still sitting on my list to complete, so that hasn't quite been sent out yet.
No worries. I just think this would be a good opportunity to perhaps get that one on their agenda at some point, so that at least it's being considered, because otherwise it's not. And I think we made a really good point that day. It was very hot. That it would be nice to not be stuck here. Yeah. Thank you.
I'll just add the recent spike in fuel prices is
Also a good reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gonna put that.
We need some flexibility.
So, councillors, there are 2 recommendations. Councillors, any?
I'll move that the acting mayor be attending and also that he be the voting delegate. And I think that's really all we should be sending. Let's show a bit of restraint in this time, proposing rather large increases in rates, and it's not a junket. I'll move that way.
Councillor Coleman.
I'll be seconding that, thank you.
Moved. Councillor Arthur, seconded Councillor Coleman, that the acting mayor attend and be the voting delegate. Any councillors wishing to enter debate? Councillor Bland.
I was interested in going, but only for the day. driving down and back. So, I mean, I accept whatever council chooses to decide. That discussion has happened before. Had happened previously to this meeting.
Councillor Arthur, are you prepared to vary your motion to that effect?
So move an amendment.
Sorry?
I've moved that motion, yes.
Yeah, are you prepared to vary the motion?
No, not really.
Councillor Bland, are you moving an amendment that way?
No, I'll leave it. Thank you.
Okay.
It's,
Any other councillors wishing to enter debate? Councillor Roundtree?
I know that if we do have somebody interested in going and they're prepared to just go down for the day and back again, I think we actually should be supporting that. And I would like to encourage councillor Arthur to just amend his motion to include the fact that councillor Bland could attend for the day if he's prepared to amend that motion. Otherwise, I'll move an amendment.
So Councillor Arthur's indicated he's not prepared to vary the motion.
No,
Councillor Roundtree, you're moving an amendment that way?
Yes, I am.
Is there a seconder for the amendment? The amendment has lapsed due to a lack of a seconder.
Tried.
Councillor Arthur, you'll close.
close.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Moving on to agenda item number 2, National General Assembly of Local Government. Are there any questions or points of clarification before we move forward, councillors? Councillors, there are 2 options in front of you. Councillor Roundtree.
Yes, I'd like to move option 1. And depending on your schedule, I think you would be the right person to attend that meeting in Canberra if you are prepared to do so. I guess what we need to consider is, and I have never been to one, so I don't know, do we actually feel we get some bang for our buck out of this? Or do we need to make sure we set up all the meetings we want ahead of time so that we are getting as much out of this as we can? Because I think that they sort of have to go hand in hand. We're going there to do this, but we're also going to meet with X many number of ministers and try and achieve some of our goals. Otherwise, it's probably a waste of time. But I'm keen for you to go as the mayor.
Thank you. Before I ask for a seconder, I'll just comment. Last year, due to a change in the parliamentary calendar, there wasn't the ability for side meetings, and I had the conversation with the CEO during the week that if that were to occur again, I don't think it's worth us going. But if there was the ability to meet ministers, I think that it may be. Councillor.
I agree. We need to have the ability to meet the ministers and have pretty much a one-page handout on any of the significant issues that we need to advise them, because you really it's pretty much mayor a minute. You're not going to get much time. But if you leave them with a handout, then that at least prompts the memory, and often you see the minders as well. So I would also suggest that the mayor is appropriate to go along with the appropriate staff member.
You're seconding, Councillor Bland?
I am seconding.
And if I'm understanding correctly, you're moving the motion, the mover subject to the parliamentary calendar remaining unchanged?
Yeah, actually, we'll put that in there, subject to the parliamentary calendar remaining unchanged.
Councillor Maitland.
Yes, thank you, Acting Mayor. I have a question about this. Given the date's the 23rd of June, that's the day that we are meant to be proposing our budget, isn't it? We've shifted it?
Yeah,
The CEO.
the chair, and I would like to attend the national conference as well.
Yep.
And there are meetings that Tony Parsons offered to set up. That there's some senators that have indicated that I can make with us, so I can think of 3 or 4 things that are really critical that having those meetings will be a great benefit. So to enable that, we have moved the approval of the budget to the first Tuesday in July.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Maitland.
That's fine. Yep, thank you
Any
for
other
that.
councillors wishing to enter debate? Councillor Roundtree, you'll close.
Closed.
I'll put the motion as on the screen. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Agenda item number 3, Local Government Infrastructure Partnership Program Grant. I will go to the CEO first on this one for some comment.
And if you don't mind, I will defer to the Director of Roads and Infrastructure.
Thank you. The Director.
Thank you, both. Through the chair, this report is just to allow the mayor and CEO to sign and affix the common seal to the grant agreement, which is been finalised for the LGIP funding towards the Wellington East water upgrade projects. Yeah, it's almost a bit retrospective, but they the grant agreement will stand and will what has been captured is that the construction start date is as of November when we started. So, you know, we're not missing out on grant agreement. It's all been just waiting for the state government to finalise the agreement for us to now execute. Just purely just allowing the mayor and CEO to agree.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Bland.
It's really not so much about the partnership, but are the Wellington East community generally happy with the finalisation of any payments that we have? I know it's slightly separate to this, but I understood there was perhaps a little bit of concern. And is it all going well?
Question through the chair. We've had, I would suggest, a handful of inquiries. Perhaps more just clarifications around how they'll be charged, what it looks like. Follow-up questioning thereafter. So, apologies. Look, there's people that are still challenged by it, but provisionally we haven't had any abruptly negative queries around it.
Okay.
Yes. I'll just provide comment that I have had some feedback around whether council had applied all grant funding received to the project. And I'd just like to put on the record that we have done so. There was confusion due to a letter published by a minister that indicated an incorrect grant amount. And just on the record, we did receive the monies that have been received have been applied in totality to the project. I think it's important that we pass that back to community if asked.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bland.
Everything that I've heard. So thank you very much. And in saying that, I'm happy to move it.
Councillor Bland is moving the recommendation as written. Do I have a seconder? Councillor O'Hara. Thank you. Any councillors wishing to enter debate? Councillor Bland, you'll close.
Closed.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Moving on to decision report 4. Deakin District Sporting Club request for in-kind support. Councillors, are there any questions or points of clarification on this one? Councillor Roundtree, you're moving.
Move it. Yep.
Councillor Roundtree has moved. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Councillor Roundtree.
Closed.
I'll just go to the seconder. Do you wish to speak to the motion?
Greg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, it sounds like a worthy project, and 10,000 is reasonable. And there was a bit of rearranging, obviously, in the infrastructure side of things, and impact on the toilets and the playground. And good work by our Director of Roads and Infrastructure. We've come up with a turnip plan, and so it's going to work out fine. So I support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors wishing to enter debate? Councillor Roundtree, you're closed.
I'll just, before I close, say I thought the report was great. Everything we needed to know was in that report and it was a good outcome. So well done on that. And with that, I'll close.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Moving on to decision report 10.5, Murray River Study Hub funding request. There are 2 options presented. Councillors, do you have any questions, points of clarification? Councillor Moment first.
I'd just like to move option 2. I figure we're going to explore options in this option or opportunities for expansion of the services into this area. I think we're lax in this at the moment. So I think, yeah, 2,500 where we review it in a year after we get some more service from it, rather than the 5,000.
Councillor O'Hara?
Yeah, I'll be voting, I'll be voting against this. I think it's just another way of,
Shifting.
I don't know, but it's $200 a head for 28 people from Huron Council that have done this, and I just don't see it as a good thing. I just think that it's a chance for people to go in there instead of going to Centrelink, to go here. That covers their what Centrelink asks them to do to continue to get funding. So I'll be voting against this. I don't think it's.
I have a mover for the motion. Is there a seconder for the motion being option 2? Councillor Roundtree seconding. So moved, Maidment, Councillor Maidment, seconded Councillor Roundtree. Councillor O'Hara has spoken against. Is there any further councillors wishing to enter debate?
Oh,
Councillor Arthur?
yeah, after the presentation, which we received the other week, I wasn't impressed at all with what they were presenting. It looked as if we were there to help with the bricks and mortar more than the outlay of the actual courses. So I also, and I think it's another way of cost shifting. Murray Bridge Council can do it. They've got a big budget, we haven't, and I'll be voting against it too.
Councillor Bland?
Yes. Look, I'll put some serious thought into this because I do believe in education in our smaller communities, but I think there are alternative ways to deliver it. I think helping people set up courses, particularly for students and that, we're seeing a lot more of that happen out in our smaller communities through the school system as well. So I don't see how that works in conjunction. Those who want to go back into study or have children and need to study from home, the universities and that do quite well at setting some of that up. Now, unless you're travelling to Murray Bridge at this point, it's not really solving a huge amount for us. So at this point, I think they could be invited back next year with the new council and discuss and see how much has been achieved since then. So I'll be voting against.
Councillor Maidment? Sorry, it was remiss of me. Do you wish to speak more fully to the motion?
Having heard other councillors' opinions, I agree with some of it. I think education is essential for people to move up in the world. I do worry about, us not getting benefit from this. That's why I think option 2 still puts us in the loop. And I agree that maybe the new council could readdress this. But this is for 4 years, isn't it? So if we set it up, it can't be readdressed, or can we invite them back and redo it next year?
I believe that option 2 is a single payment.
It's a single payment. Yeah, that's what I'm happy with. I don't want it to go for 4 years, so I'll leave option 2 up as moving it. Thank you.
Seconder wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, so I think all the councils have made some very fair points. The cost shifting exercise is big in my mind. I also see there's opportunities with our library systems for people to work in libraries, and I would presume if the study club wasn't there, the Murray Bridge Library is also a spot that I know people go to do this kind of work. I liked option 2 because it just gave us a little option to keep our toe in the water and see how they performed over the next 12 months and whether even with this fuel crisis, would there be more pickup or not? And I would say there probably won't, but that drive to Murray Bridge is going to be harder and harder for people to do. So there's likely to not be that. So I won't be disappointed if the motion doesn't get up. But I felt the same as Councillor Maidment that we ought to just maybe keep our toe in the water.
Thank you. Councillor Cormann?
Last one left. Yeah, the 2,500 I gather that was just a one-off, is that correct? Yeah. Yeah, because I don't sit comfortably with the other one. So have one off and then toe in the water, like Councillor Roundtree says, and see how it goes. So Yeah, option 2 sounds more attractive. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Moment, you'll close.
I'll close, thanks.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Voting for the motion is Councillor Bland, Maidment, Roundtree and Coleman. Those against?
Sorry, I was daydreaming. Oh, apologise, I'm against the motion.
To put it again.
Okay, I'll put the motion again.
Sorry.
All those in favour? Voting for the motion is Councillors Maidment, Roundtree and Coleman. Those against the motion? Voting against the motion is Councillors O'Hara, Arthur and Bland. I will issue a casting vote against the motion. The motion is lost.
Right, thank you.
Apologies, Mr Mayor.
Just give me. Thank you, councillors, for the debate. Moving on to decision item 6. The Box Flat Wild Dog Coordinating Committee funding request. Councillor Arthur, do you wish to provide some context to this before we deal with the motion?
I'd just like to make an observation there. I haven't been on since 2023, been on since 2016. It's probably one of the few boards which works across country, Victoria, councils, local government, the whole works and jerks, and is a very effective way of monitoring. And one of the biggest contributors to it is actually the sheep industry fund, because it's them that's affected mainly. And I think we're going into a very crucial time at the present moment because of the move in, particularly the area border Victoria, where the wild dogs are now protected. And there's been some, there has been quite a few attacks already in our area. And thing is with this, get a lot of money from the Wild Dog Board to run it. And if you do have a lot of trouble, they send trappers down to actually try and get rid of it. So it's a very, very small contribution by council towards the running of this board, which is very successful. And at the present moment, unless kind of things change, it's going to be a lot more. Thank you.
Councillor Bland?
So I move that we
No, question.
Question?
And Councillor Arthur has answered some of it, particularly with relation to the changes in Victoria and the impact on South Australia. What I want to know is what South Australia or Victoria are doing to attempt to ensure that pretty much that the border is fenced in some ways. I know it's a big ask, but they've changed legislation. The impact is on South Australian farmers. How do we then become a little more proactive about making sure that other than $1,700 seems minimal, making sure that it is more secure in the future? We didn't get a say in the legislation, or I'm not aware that we did.
Councillor Arthur, do you have a?
Well, we got a say in the legislation that happens within our area. We haven't got any say in what's happening in Victoria. And I can tell you that the ministers in South Australia that are affected by this have been lobbying Victoria. But Victoria, if you remember, it was only last meeting I brought up about a letter I'd received on a comment they might be baiting. That's the sort of thing you're coming up with. And the biggest problem we got also is there is a group now within South Australia wanting to bear wild dogs
Protected species.
untouchable. So no, there has been a lot of lobbying and unfortunately you just can't get to square one with the Victorian side of things. And even though the sheep industry, there's people that have had to de-stock. They put, I think, $7 million in towards fencing. I think the fence on the border of Little Desert and Narcat Park was about $26 million or something ridiculous. It's quite a big commitment.
Thank you. I believe, Councillor Arthur, you indicated you were moving the motion.
Yes.
Councillor Arthur has moved. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Roundtree. Councillor Arthur, do you wish to speak further to the motion?
Oh, I think I've already done that, so.
You, Councillor Roundtree.
I agree, this is a really important committee.
Any other councillors wishing to enter debate? Councillor Coleman.
Yeah, just a comment. Thank you, Mr. Baird, that I totally support this, and it's, we're hearing good feedback from Councillor Arthur, and especially what caught my eye when my ear, I should say, that you mentioned about looking at a way to deal with the annoying Corella problem. So hopefully they get something done that way.
I am going to vote for this, but I would like to see council be proactive at a federal level in discussing this as a potential long-term problem. Councillor Arthur has indicated the change potentially in our own borders. Victoria has already done it. This has the potential to get bigger. So where do you start? A bit like the Corella problem. It's been to Canberra. Still haven't got very far, but this is another one.
Thank you, Councillor Bland. Councillor Arthur, do you wish to vary the motion to include an advocacy piece?
Sorry?
You wish to vary the motion to include an advocacy piece?
Well, I can tell you there's the Wild Dog Board meeting is next month, I think in Port Augusta. And South Australia is very proactive with it. As you know, they've just about finished the fence. It's from one side of the South Australia to the other, redoing the dingo, wild dog fence. They have also taken a contract on to put another 120 k's, I think, of fencing in for the New South Wales government. But Victorian government are not, to come to the party, and unfortunately we can't dictate to them. We do advocate to them. We talk to them, and we do have their reps on the board, and can't mention anything there, but I know it's a pretty ordinary situation, but it's really only going to change if the Victorian government changes their outlook on dog. I can't see how it will change any other way.
Thank you. Any further speakers to the motion? Oh, Councillor Arthur, you'll close. I'll put the motion as it reads. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Moving on to decision report 10.7, the Community Vision Plan. The recommendation. Councillors, before we deal with the recommendation, are there any questions? We've obviously looked at this quite significantly over a period of time. Councillor Moment.
Yes, thank you, Acting Mayor, and through you, not so much questions, it's a very good document. I'd just like to compliment Kelly on this. I think it's one of the best ones produced. So I'm quite happy to move it.
Thank you. Councillor Moment moving. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bland. Move Councillor Moment, seconded Councillor Bland. Councillor Moment, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Councillor Bland.
No, I think we've a lot on this.
We have.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to enter the debate?
Just reiterating, through you, Mayor, just reiterating.
Councillor Roundtree.
Councillor Maidment's comments, it's actually really well done, and congratulations to Kelly. It was a good document.
Councillor Coleman, you have the call.
Yeah, I've just got a comment again that looking through this quite comprehensive report, reading it in and out, and people's concerns, it was a chance for our community, important chance for our community to engage with local government and an opportunity to air their views and put in their suggestions for the future. So well done to everybody that participated. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Hara.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask a question. I mean, it's an excellent product, and Kelly and her gang have done a terrific job. But I just ask, do we really need those two consultants that had to be there all the time for $40,000? I mean, our girls are pretty clever. Do we need to spend $40,000 on consultants to get this product?
I'll go to the CEO.
I believe we scaled back the consultants' brief when council had original brief, we scaled it back considerably and we used more in-house resources. But at the same time, those in-house resources being used for good number of other consultations, so we did need some.
Thank you, councillor O'Hara, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess.
Just for a point of clarification, CEO, did that include a scaling back of the cost of the? Thank you. Any further councillors wishing to enter debate? Councillor Maidment, you'll close.
Close.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Moving on to decision report 8. The long-term financial plan. Council's recommendation before you is to endorse for public consultation. Do I have any questions or points of clarification? Does councillor wish to move the recommendation? Councillor Bland? Is there a seconder? Councillor Roundtree, Councillor Bland, you have the call.
No, I think it's quite, appropriate report and probably we'll go to consultations.
Councillor Roundtree, you have the call.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We've had 3 workshops on this. The report says none of us are happy with where CPI is going at the moment, and the position we find ourselves in is not where we want it to be. We're no different to any other council. So I think we've done as a group the best we can with the administration to get to this point. Best that now the community have a look at it and decide what they think and what their questions are. So I'm happy to see it go out.
Thank you. Any other councillors wishing to enter debate? Councillor Coleman, you have the call.
Yes, I'm like councillor Roundtree, and I'm supporting this to go out for community consultation, and importantly, as time goes past, the world we live in, when it comes back and we can do some more fine tuning and readjusting. So that's the time I'll be looking forward to see how it eventuates, what sort of closure we have, and then preparing for the next term or next 10 years, whatever it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Any further councillors?
Yes,
Councillor
just
Arthur.
like clarification of this point 2, the interim chief executive officer be delegated authority to make minor formatting changes to the document as it required prior to the final version being
That's in the,
released.
That's in the
Public
annual
version.
report.
What does minor formatting changes mean?
I will go to the CEO for comment.
Through the chair, look, I don't, but that's exactly what it means, minor formatting change.
Full stops, commas, justified, left hand justified, right hand justified. That's formatting.
It won't change the key substance of the document, but this document has been prepared volatile economic environment, as was mentioned before. And as information has come through, Bill's been working right up until, the last produce the document. The public consultation May 1st, and what we want to do is provide the community with the best up. So there may be some slight changes, but it won't affect any of the key statistics.
Okay.
It is still draft. So as Councillor Coleman said, you get another bite at it significantly when you consider the feedback.
Thank you. Councillor Arthur, does that answer your question?
No, that's fine. Yeah.
Thank
At
you.
least we know. You can keep your eye on it.
Thank you. Any other councillors wishing to enter debate? Councillor Bland, you'll close.
closed.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Voting for the motion is Councillor O'Hara, Bland, Maidment, Roundtree and Coleman. And Councillor Arthur. The motion is carried unanimously. Decision report 9, the draft annual business plan and budget. Are there any questions or points of clarification before we deal with the recommendations, councillors? Being none.
I'd just like to ask a question of the CEO. Is in the old days, or up until last year, things changed over 12 months, as we know, but 1% rate increase was $100,000 in expenditure. Is that sort of relevant?
It's not a bad figure, Bill, or a little bit behind.
I'll go to the acting director.
Through you, Mayor, that's kind of like a stab in the dark figure. It fluctuates depending on the revenue. So each year's revenue changes, expenditures change. It's probably a loose assumption, I'd say. Might be close. But it will change as the budgets change. 1% might be 50,000 5 years ago, might be 150 3 years.
Well, last year it was 100, we were told. So I'm just wondering if that is still relevant.
It's not something, it's more like a rule of thumb than an actual equation. But we can work it out what it means today with the figures that we've got. That helps.
Yeah, the reason I want to find out how that actually works is because we're putting out a budget, proposed budget to the ratepayers with a 6.5% rate increase and a $660,000 borrowing. So if we relate that to a balanced budget, it's a 13% rate increase. Now, I don't know where everybody's been lately, but there is a little bit of pressure on. We've got a northern area of our
Councillor,
council area.
Councillor, is there a question here or are we going to debate?
Well, I'm asking a question that have been given, a lot of people have been giving rebates, so they don't have to pay their 12 months because of the pressure, financial pressure that we're going to present them with a budget that's going to kick. It's going to be, if it was run as a neither surplus or deficit budget, a balanced budget, will be 13% increase. And it's no good saying, well, we could do a state government, we could go and borrow $1 million and say we've got a $300,000 excess. So, you know, like my thing is, I couldn't vote for this going out. It's going out to the public, I know. I got a couple of things on the weekend and people were, I didn't know anything. The extra, didn't look at the borrowings at the end, but you know, we can say, oh, you look at your cattle prices. One fellow said, yeah, I used to have 600 cattle, I got 300 now.
So the question, if we get,
I'm just saying that I would like to know what that relates to, because as you said, it could be 50,000 is a 1% increase.
so the question that we're taking on notice to have in our pockets when we go to public with this is, what percentage increase will be required to find a balanced budget? Thank you. Further question, Councillor Bland?
Question really is around advertising, because when we been to community, particularly in the Meningie area more recently, we don't always make the papers on time. We tried drop, didn't work particularly well. Can we make sure we get the posters and the information out as soon as possible?
Thank you. I'll invite Kelly to come to a microphone to address the question, please.
We did have a little bit of a mix-up previously. Not necessarily our problem, but it did create an
So Kelly, the
expectation.
question being, what steps are we taking to ensure the public's informed?
So the local publications have been booked as of yesterday, and the team are working on the graphic design and the content for that. So we will see communications go out on local publications for the May edition. So, and with the exception of Meningie, which I think may be next week. In addition to that, because of the timelines, we are unable to do the direct mail approach. That's quite an extensive approach. There will be social media, there will be newsletters that are going out, and then there will be posters placed in high profile areas as we have done in the past.
I think it is a courtesy. I mean, given that this first one, I mean, is on the 6th of May, it'll be very tight to get this information out.
My understanding is that the Meningie Lakelander is published next week. Yeah.
Thank you. So we'll be in the Lakelander next week.
We will be in the Lakelander. Ash, you may want to just confirm that for me. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Further questions? Councillors, there's a recommendation. Anybody moving the recommendation? Thank you, Councillor O'Hara. Seconded, Councillor Roundtree. Councillor O'Hara, do you wish to speak?
That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Roundtree.
I don't have anything more to add.
Any further councillors wishing to enter debate? Being none, Councillor O'Hara, you will close. Closed. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? O'Hara, Bland, Maidment, Roundtree and Qualman. Those against? Voting against the motion is Councillor Arthur. The motion is carried with 1 against. Thank you. Moving on to decision report 10. The draft schedule of fees and charges. I'll go to the director. Any comment at this point? Roads and infrastructure?
Yeah. Let me just get to the right pages. Through the chair, pretty much the only changes we're considering is just the update to the non-potable water supply. Out of the fees and charges, saw about a 10 cent per kilolitre increase. We have also done some updating to the waste transfer station charges. Some work was done to, I guess, proportionately make the minor charges a little bit more comparable by volume. We've had just some challenges in and around people bringing mobile wheelie bins. They previously were a $5 charge. You could bring in as many as you want and pay very little for what ends up being quite a bit of volume. And so what we've done is we've realigned those charges for the mobile wheelie bins to reflect that if multiples were bought in, it ends up being a similar charge to the volume charge. For example, 3 mobile 240 litre wheelie bins would be $60 charge, which is the equivalent to a levelled 6x4 trailer. So it's just to make it more comparable, so no one's advantaged or disadvantaged. It's more a equitable outcome. For those volume charges, we applied some CPI increase. Just we have not increased those charges for quite a while, and our costs to dispose of rubbish do go up on year. We've increased, been a small decrease to some of the oil disposal products, just to reflect what the reality is for us to dispose of them. The furniture products we've all put up by $5 each, and that is just to reflect the disposal costs again. And then tyres, the only change at this point is that we're going to reintroduce tractor tyres, price on application and drop off by appointment at Canalpin and Tailem Bend, just citing the potential need there of machinery to deal with them on drop off. Further to that, and through discussion last week, we think we will look at reviewing the remainder of the tyre line items there. We think that there could be an adjustment to reflect the cost to dispose of them more accurately. But we'll allow that to go out to consultation and make a re-review once it comes back in.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Qualman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through the chair to the Director of Roads and Infrastructure. Regarding tyres, do we get some sort of compensation, some money back at all or not?
Through the chair, no, it costs us to dispose of them in any whichever way we choose to.
Yeah, no, nothing to make a playground thing and
Nah.
crush them up, whatever.
Nah, at the end of the day, they have to be processed one way or another, and
Yeah.
that costs someone.
Yes.
It's whether we process them ourselves and then sell a product, or whether we, pay a recycling collector to come and collect them and take them off our hands. So, I mean, probably what we're proposing is that we would, we've got some quotations there for an entity to come and collect tyres. We'd probably set our pricing to be that plus some handling fee loading on top of the cost of the tyre. So,
Yeah.
so there's that. Sorry, remiss of me. We've just realigned the additional curbside collection costs to reflect the modelling that we've done for the broader waste collection service. So that has been the other realignment there in the fees and charges.
Councillor Bland?
Yes, through you. In relation to the medical centres at Tintinara and Canalpin, where we would normally have received money from state government, are we still receiving the money for that? Is it anticipated and built into the budget to do that? At this point in time, I notice the H&R Centre is able to be hired out, which is fine because it doesn't quite fall under that category, even though it's co-joined. Are we still leasing our facilities to State Health?
So the answer to that, councillor, is yes. And particularly, I can speak to the example of the Tintinara Health Centre. The lease agreement has designated areas under control, which would be where this is coming in terms of the leasing. But yes, at this stage, SA Health is in a long-term lease agreement.
So my other part of the question then is that, say, Canalpin, is there any opportunity for, if we enter into that agreement, for the community to lease sections of the an underutilised building for community meetings, small community gatherings that may support health in the area? I'm fully aware that state charges, the health charges, are astronomical. So I'm just wondering.
Unless somebody up here can answer that question, I haven't seen the lease agreement for Canalpin, so I'm not sure if the building section might take that on notice if we can.
Thank you.
Any further questions, councillors? Councillor Arthur?
Yeah, I did ask a question before when we stopped charging for extra bins, but I still answer for it. Now, the details, as I brought up last week, the details that I received regarding the curbside waste collection and the dollars received and the expenses incurred. And then I was referred that there's also administration charges on top of that, even though the letter I've got here from council said they were included. There's still $200,000 difference now. These are the charges for additional bins we are talking.
Correct.
Have we gone back and looked into what we have been receiving and what we have been charged for this, because it is a recovery only field, not to make a profit on these? That is legislation. So can we actually, this is the figures that I've got here, which was supplied by council of the income and the expenditure.
Yep.
Now, there's a great deal of discrepancy there.
So
before we accept these discharges.
Yep.
So if I could, noting that the charges have gone down, I'll go to the director for comment.
Yeah. So when setting the charge, I guess mainly for our three service streams, which are water supply, wastewater and waste collection, there's an amount of forecast that goes into assuming what your costs will be. So we generally, and I'll talk to waste collection in particular, we will take the direct costs for the first 6 months of this financial year we're in, take the first 6 months of direct costs that we've been invoiced for, we extrapolate that out for a 12-month cost. That is our direct charge that we use. All right, so that's there's some known number there. That's what it cost. But we're also assuming that that cost will stay the same for next financial year too. So again, there's an amount of assumption that goes into that. We then take some percentage costs of various internal charges, internal budget amounts for Bill's finance team, roads and infrastructure team, for customer service, just for the internal bits and pieces that contribute to the waste collection process. Previously, we've also had to incorporate an amount in there for MRLGA as we paid a waste management levy to them. They are no longer doing that, so we've removed that from the equation this year. We then add in some risk, which this year we've chosen to add in a bit of an extra risk on, I guess, the current status of diesel, so that we're not going to provide some shortcomings. And then once all that is done, we add a CPI percentage to the number. So that spits out a total service charge for this coming financial year. I think it's looking in the order of about $740,000. We're forecasting is going to be the cost to recover. And so we then, I guess, divide that by how many collections we do. We've then got to make calculations in and around the 75% charges for bin banks, 50% charges for bin banks, and then factor in what additional bins that we have. And then that spits out numbers as we see here. So what is in the additional curbside collection service equals $323, which will be the annual service charge. That is the broken down components of each per the invoicing, what each, I guess, line item cost us.
Right, this is no different than, like, I think before we worked on, say, 2,500 bins, if they were picked up or not. It doesn't, if you're getting a contract, there's 25, you pick up 2, that's you still got to do the whole route.
Yeah.
The other thing is here, one of the things that was envisaged by the staff some time ago was that additional bin charges would be directly billed by Solo. Is that going to be the case?
Through the chair.
Thank you. Director?
Yeah, no worries.
I'll go to the Director of Community and Corporate.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, through your chair. So to answer your question, councillor, it not be through Solo, it will be through.
So, and how would someone have to purchase X amount of bins even though they don't use them? Like, for example, over busy times, they need more than others, or going to charge them per pickup, or what's the story? I think businesses at the present moment need to know that.
I think this charge is relating to an ongoing service, but
Yes.
to the Director, a temporary situation.
Temporary situation. Look, I'll need to consider that. I haven't been presented that scenario, so we haven't previously dealt with that scenario. In terms of formality, in terms of setting a price, what does an isolated collection look like for a set period of time? I've not been presented that scenario yet. We can certainly model something if we need to. But generally speaking, these additional bins will be for an ongoing service. It'll be, so currently we have a letter prepared to those that we are collecting an additional bin from, offering them the opportunity to either accept the additional charge. If they don't want to, they don't have to. They can return the bin to council and we won't collect it and they won't be charged for it.
Thank you. I'll go to the CEO.
And we can't expect know what occurred, a couple of years ago or so, and know everything. Although he's very, very good, but I can't expect. There were conversations about that exact situation. Let's say someone's got an extra, couple of guests, and they've got some things happening in their family, and for a period of time, they will need an extra bin. Let's say it's for a couple of months. Now the way that we were going to deal with that would be they would deal directly with the contractor. Now that might with the previous contractor, so we would have to.
The existing one.
Solar and go, well, yeah, that was my understanding, so, I think we will just take that on notice and if that was pursued, and if not, why not?
Yeah, well, my worry was that, and at that time was, the contract is between me, the consumer, and the council, not the contractor. The contractor and the council have got the agreement, so.
Through the chair, and that's why it be dealt with separate to the contract, so it's no different than someone picking up the phone and saying, bins are us, I need a bin. No different.
Okay, the second point is,
This is the third point, councillor Arthur?
third point, sorry, as I asked, regarding, sporting bodies who've been, offered bins free, are they now going to be charged? And I was told, wait till bring it up today at the meeting week, so I'm bringing it up today. Can I have an answer?
Councillor Arthur, I believe the policy around this says that there will be provided on that one-off. Are you talking about the one-off event for sporting bodies or?
The extra, because the sporting body doesn't need one. But they don't need, they might need five, but they need five every week and they don't need, because sporting is the main thing that we should be doing. Is getting people playing sport or being involved in sport.
So,
To the director.
through the chair, I think we had some good discussion on this in the governance and policy working group when we recently discussed the sporting club leases and licensing policy. And what we've referenced in there is that generally waste collection as a result of the lessee or the licensee will be their responsibility unless it's otherwise, identified in the relevant lease agreement or license agreement.
Okay.
And then outside of that, there is also just a small paragraph to say that where there are individual community sites like a skate park, like a playground where council assumes the responsibility, council will collect the generally singular bin at those locations, but more broadly, the policy talked to that waste management for their activity and their operations would be their responsibility, unless it's otherwise stated.
Councillor Arthur, does that answer your question?
That's all, that'll do.
Yeah, I think I'm,
Councillor Roundtree?
thank you, following on a bit, I think, from councillor Arthur, because I was going to raise it in 1017 when we were looking at the sporting clubs leases and licensing review. One of the questions that was raised during the governance session was about who is financially responsible for buying bins and dealing with the bins at the footy clubs. And it was said in there 9.3 covers off of that. Well, I read 9.3 again and it didn't. So I think if we're looking at the fees and charges, it's certainly been raised with me. There is some question, I guess, from the footy clubs about how many bins they're entitled to have and who pays for them to be. Is it the club that pays for them to be emptied? Is it the council that's paying for them to be emptied? And so I think we just needed some clearer direction around that. Is that sort of where you were heading as well, about who pays, who organises it? Because I don't need them every week and we've got three clubs, one team in this district. Is it that when it's Tintinara's home game, they need 10 bins and Canalpin needs none? Or is it that, there should be bins placed at every club throughout the football season or, throughout the year? So there just needed to be some clarification because, like I said, we've got one team, 3 sites. Every home game needs an abundance of bins. The other 2 teams at that time don't.
Okay, so I think we're actually getting away now from what's in the draft schedule of fees and charges. Might be more appropriate to deal with this.
Move
at
it?
17.
Okay.
No,
But at 17?
deal with this specifically at 17.
Yeah.
Because what's being discussed is basically an exemption, which would not be within the fees and charges document. Does CEO?
That's more relevant later? Okay, well, I just thought, yeah, all right, fair, I'll bring it up then.
Yep. Okay, so we'll just noting the conversation, we'll carry that over to decision report 17. So just to recap, the charges for the bins are based on actual cost to council, and council is meeting its statutory obligations to ensure that we are only cost recovering for our waste disposal. Is there any further questions to the fees and charges? I have a mover for the Councillor O'Hara moving.
I'll move it.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Bland. moved O'Hara, seconded Bland. Councillor O'Hara, do you wish to speak to the motion?
There's been enough said. No, I'll close it.
Thank you. Councillor Bland.
I'm happy with the discussion.
Councillor O'Hara is closed. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to decision report 11. The annual business plan third quarter review. Councillors, questions? If there are no questions, there's a recommendation, councillors. Councillor Bland seeking to turn the recommendation into a motion. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Roundtree. Councillor Bland, you have the call.
No further comment.
Councillor Roundtree.
No, I think we've discussed this one quite a bit.
Thank you. Any other councillors wishing to enter debate? There being none, Councillor Bland, you're closing.
Closed.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to decision item 12, Murray-Darling Basin Plan Review. Councillors, any questions or clarification on this? Councillor Roundtree.
I have some comments actually, so I've made a few. I'll just read out my thoughts on this one. So I think the response from council reads.
Sorry, councillor, do you wish to have a discussion around this item?
Yes, I do actually, yeah.
I'm going to
That's pretty
suspend
good.
meeting
Yeah.
procedures at 11:02 for 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's very great of you.
Councillor
Thank you.
Roundtree.
Yeah. The response from council, I think the level of urgency in this matter, that this matter requires, it doesn't adequately reflect the importance of achieving the right outcome. In my opinion, the wording should be stronger and more direct with unnecessary soft, vague language removed. There is limited actionable content in the current response. Terms such as supports are too passive. Instead, we should clearly state measurable impacts. For example, noting an X reduction in key areas and specify exactly what outcomes or actions are being sought. It should move away from broad supportive language and focus squarely on our precise priorities and requests. And I'd like to see a firmer, more outcome-driven approach. And I would say just even submit Appendix A only. Like, I think there's a lot of jargonistic stuff in that response and we're not getting to the point quick enough. And the very last thing was a photograph of the fisherman in orange gear on the page is really stretched and I think detracts from the professionalism of the document. So overall, when I read that, I just felt that it was passive, way too passive for a situation that requires, I think, a lot more stronger terminology and direct to the point. We've mucked around for long enough. This is what we need and want, and this is how it's affecting us. And I think we need to be stronger in our response.
Thank you, Councillor Roundtree. Any other councillors' comments? Councillor Arthur, then Coleman.
Just a statement on this. Shouldn't we be making a submission to section 6 of which we are part of? We don't normally make submissions direct. We do it through section 6, which we are part of.
So two different pathways. We're Murray-Darling Association in section 6. This is the formal review of the basin plan by the federal government.
But wouldn't they be doing a review,
They're doing it as well.
submitting a plan? So what they are submitting, even though we're part of that, what we submit may be a lot different than what they submit. So shouldn't we be working in cooperation?
I believe we are. I'll go to Councillor Coleman. Thank you. It's a bit of clarification. Thank you, Councillor Arthur. There is two pathways. On Friday, we had our Region 6 Murray-Darling Association meeting, but unfortunately it wasn't a meeting for lack of members, no quorum. So it was just a discussion. I did mention that the Coorong Council has got its submission prepared and that would be lodged with the Murray-Darling Authority pending on decision of this chamber today. So I just read out some key points aligned with the expectations of both the Murray-Darling Authority and the Murray-Darling Association and of course the Coorong Council. Yeah, and so in the meantime, the Murray-Darling Association is trying to get another meeting going. And hopefully, of course, if this goes through the chamber, this will come in information with them because then they will lodge their submission as well.
Councillor,
Well,
Councillor
no.
Arthur, does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah.
Councillor Bland?
Read the document a number of times now, including the previous draft. And I know that some locals, particularly in my own area, have had some input into that document and contacted directly. I do tend to agree with Councillor Roundtree that perhaps the language is a bit soft in there. Some of the points are there. It's just that maybe they are a little bit soft and we could toughen that up a bit. I had to also separate in my mind that we've spent a lot of time in the Coorong Council, particularly again in the Meningie area, looking at submissions on how to fix the Coorong. This document isn't about how to fix the Coorong, but it should go hand in hand, and maybe a note saying that we're anticipating some outcomes. My rational brain tells me that what they're wanting is the overall picture here, not necessarily what already is a disaster, and we all know that, and how to fix the disaster, which is what we've heard before. So whether or not that's an appendix to this, I don't know, which is very clear about options for some of it. What we're asking for here is more water downstream, fix the environment, to keep the farming, the fishing, the community together. But the other side of it is that we have been surveyed to death. We have had project officers after project officers. There are no doubt documents sitting in federal. We know that from the recent virus review that was done at Goolwa. We know these things are still sitting there and nobody's doing anything about it. So they know a lot about the Coorong. The action from maybe needs a note that if this isn't achieved, then what are you going to do about fixing the Coorong? And I think that's probably some of getting something actionable out of it. It's hard to read in. I think it addresses what was meant to be there. Just agree that there probably could be a few more strong comments. However, I think it does address it, and I can see the comments from locals and fishermen and that through the document, and particularly the narrows that needed to be cleaned up, that everyone tells us it was like that before the Millennium Drought. So some of it's in there, but it is a little bit on the light side, wishy-washy.
Councillor Roundtree?
Yeah, so I guess with that in mind, if this document goes up to a federal government bureaucrat, they're going to read it and go, oh, we've done such a great job. I don't want them to sit in their position and feel that they've accomplished anything, because I don't feel they have. We've done a lot of talking about this situation. So I think with people who get so much stuff to read, what I would prefer to see that comes across their desk from us is something that hits them straight in the face and goes, okay, these guys clearly aren't happy. I'll read a little bit further. I just think when you start reading it, it tells them they've done a good job and things are pretty much okay. And yeah, okay, we've got a few concerns and here's a few ideas, but I think we should be stronger and more, I don't know, I think we've wasted so much time on this situation without any great response.
Councillor Mayman-Raihara, do you wish to enter conversation?
No, I'm very interested in what's going on being said and agree with everything so far. So no, I don't.
I'll just go to the CEO before I wrap up.
It's interesting when listening to you, Councillor Roundtree, and it made me think about how when you like a letter now, you can put it into ChatGPT and you can say, make this harsh.
Do that.
So a couple of things happening. We've got a deadline of May the 1st. We've got the meeting that Councillor Coleman spoke about, that there's an email that I'll talk to you about later, but we need to settle on a date. It's next week. We certainly at that meeting can express that you want more process language. You know, I think that's probably where we're heading, and we want to hit hard right from the start. And we are more than happy if you were to request that the submission enhanced with stronger language that reflects.
I would support that.
I just might not be in a position to I won't be in a position to come back to council with it. I definitely can give it.
And Councillor Bland?
Can I just make one comment? It is the balance between when you're with all due respect to communities upstream, is that we're arguing for water to come down no matter what. That we need the water at the end, at the Murray mouth, for the environment, for community, et cetera, et cetera. However, we also know there's a whole pile of solutions that have been put on the table, seawater pumping, et cetera, for the Coorong. So we need to be careful that if we don't argue for the water strongly, that the easy fix, expensive fix as well, is just to pump water. And it's finding that balance now as to, you argue the plan should deliver to the mouth, but you also, if it's not delivering, in what time frame are you going to be able, before the Coorong is, excuse my expression, wrecked completely? And it's not that far off in sections of it now.
Thank you. So before we resume meeting procedures, I think my suggestion might be, in terms of wrapping that up, that the recommendation goes forward with a request to strengthen the document, and that we delegate that to the CEO, taking into account the feedback today. I'm going to resume meeting procedures at 11:12.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, Councillor Qualman.
Yeah, I just like have a bit more to put in. I had concerns, and I totally agree with the fellow councillors. We are telling what's wrong, but we got to emphasise that things are in trouble. I mean, we're in a critical state. The Southern Lagoon is on its last legs. This is the point we've got to raise, and people's liability, well-being is on the brink, and we got to make a point, and I totally agree, mate. We've got to sharpen it up a bit and get that message through. We've got to have water, otherwise ecosystem falls over, people's jobs go west, environment, you name it. And because I found out an interesting fact that in less than 50 years, there'll be 30% less water, and yet we'll have a lot more people. So how are we going to get on? So there's got to be a lot of serious drawing of lines in the sand and start doing something. We can all talk about it, but yeah, we've got to do more action.
So I'm resuming meeting procedures at 11:13.
Thank you.
Noting the recommendation and a variation currently going on the screen, is there some councillor that wishes to convert that to a motion? Councillor Bland. So you are moving the motion as it's currently appearing on the screen.
I actually can't read the screen.
So the motion as it currently reads is the council provides a submission to the 2026 Murray-Darling Basin Plan Review with inclusion of strengthened language to be finalised by the interim chief executive officer.
Yes, I'm happy. I assume that strong language was in there.
Thank you. So move Councillor Bland. Is there a seconder? Councillor Roundtree. Councillor Bland, do you wish to speak to the motion?
When the authority came to Meningie and sat down, they were wanting solutions. They were wanting us to give them some solution, cleaning out the narrows, talking about some of the stronger things that we needed to be done in our area to help make it better. And I think that's one of the things that it comes across in some form, but we have such a big, diverse area that it makes it particularly difficult sitting at the end of the Murray to get what's needed. So we probably do need that strong language, as Councillor Roundtree indicated. And that's all.
Thank you. Councillor Roundtree, do you wish to speak?
No, I'm happy. I think the CEO has got a fair idea of what we're trying to achieve here, and I'm sure he'll put the right words in to convey our thoughts.
Any other councillors wish to enter debate? Councillor Bland, you're closed.
Closed.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Moving on to decision report 13, road renaming request. To the Director of Roads and Infrastructure first, please.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, this is just the finalisation report. We've been out to consultation and back, received a small amount of feedback, generally on the whole positive around the fact that it's just a misspelling and we're changing one letter to reflect the current understanding of Karalta Road. So.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions? Recommendation? Do I have a mover? Councillor Coleman, seconded Councillor O'Hara. Councillor Coleman, you have the call.
Pretty straightforward, self-explanatory, thank you.
Give us a second to wish to speak.
No, just get it done.
Any other councillors wish to enter debate? Councillor Coleman, you'll close.
Yes, I'll close, thank you.
Put the motion, all those in favour? Carried unanimously. Decision report 14, reformation of the Canalpin Hall Committee, expressions of interest response. This recommendation. Any questions? Councillor Roundtree?
I would like for this, with point one, that a councillors be, on this on myself. I'd like to nominate, and I actually think that, I'd like to nominate you as well if you're prepared to be the second councillor, on that committee.
Thank
Unless
you. I
anyone
will
else
be.
wants
There's a motion. So Councillor Roundtree, are you moving the recommendation
I
as it
am,
reads with those two names in?
I am, yes.
Is there a seconder for the motion?
Well, I just question whether it's always been there's one councillor nominated and one is a standby.
No, so the new terms
One
of
is a
reference
proxy, so we're going to change the whole thing there.
Yes, but-
And
Terms of
We haven't had
that
proxies
has
for
been
years.
changed in the terms of references. That
Has
are
it?
now two councillors, yep.
okay, that's all right. I can't see much point in having two councillors though.
Sorry, if I may, councillors, this is due to the conflict of interest provisions. So if you are on the committee in a community capacity, you have a conflict of interest
No,
in dealing with that matter with council.
Clear it, but you can still vote.
That this would ensure that councillors wishing to be on the committee representing the council do not have a conflict of interest. So that is in the terms of reference. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Bland. So move Councillor Roundtree. Seconded Councillor Bland. Councillor Roundtree, you have the call.
Yes, it's good. This has been a long time coming. It's nice to see that both Julie Barry and Chris Bishop are prepared to be on the committee. They do a lot for Canalpin. And I think this is something I've wanted to see for a long time. So I'm very happy we've got to this point.
Councillor Bland.
Nothing, well done.
Councillor Nayman.
I'll make a comment if I may. I really hope that this doesn't go the way of the Tailem Bend Town Hall Committee. It worries me that only two community members put their hand up, quorums, etc. But it'll be reviewed in a year or so. So I'm happy to go with this, but note my concerns for the future with it.
Thank you. Any other councillors wishing to enter debate? There being none, Councillor Roundtree, you'll close.
Closed.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Voting, the motion is carried unanimously. Motion 15, Coorong Community Health Advancement and Advisory Committee funding opportunities. And councillors, this comes from a recommendation from the first meeting of the new Section 41 Committee. You'll see that recommendation at the back. Any questions, Councillor Bland?
Mr. Acting Mayor, I'm just wondering if you could suspend for a few minutes to explain the process to all of the councillors. Not everyone is on that committee. And to why we ended up with the motion around seeking funding and the intent.
Sure. I'll suspend meeting procedures at 11:20 for 5 minutes, and I'll go to the CEO for comment.
Thank you to the chair.
This item at the committee meeting last week was regarding a funding opportunity to support the committee. When discussing that, the committee asked, well, would it be helpful to have a motion? And that motion then became broader as you said before you. But once the committee have put a recommendation to council, it has to appear. And this won't be the last time that'll happen. If we have something like the need to lodge a funding application with proof that council supported it, then this type of process is useful, having gone through Section 41, come to council, agreed by council, and then able to ensure any funding
Thank you. Does that answer your question, councillor Black?
Yes, I just, thought as a new committee, and we're seeking funding, I think it was important just to have everyone an opportunity to have any questions around that.
Any other councillors wish to have a discussion on this? Councillor Coleman?
Oh, well, maybe I'll say something. How did it go for the first meeting? Because someone,
Yeah, I think the first meeting was very productive. It was a finding our feet meeting. And there's a follow-up meeting scheduled for May
okay.
as our second meeting. But no, I think as far as the first one, I'll pass to the CEO for any further thoughts on that.
Well, if judged by the amount of conversation successful, and what I found very encouraging that there was an even contribution from the person and a very, very strong desire for the activity. And I think what we found is, I think you chose very well in terms of who you put on. It's a wide range of experience. And there's someone that there's within the full, someone who touches nearly every type of health service in the district. I think it's going to be very successful.
Well, that's good to hear.
Anything further, councillor Maitland?
If I may just add to the CEO, acting CEO's comments. One thing it lacks is gender equality. They're all women, pretty much, other than yourself, acting mayor. But apart from that, there's nothing wrong with that. It is, it was a very good meeting in my opinion. And as you said, it's a good mix of skills and community heart, which was, I think, the big driver in it. So that's all I'd wish to say on that.
Thank you. I'll resume meeting procedures at 11:23. There a mover? Thank you, councillor Roundtree moved. Seconded, councillor Maidment. Councillor Roundtree?
Nothing further to add.
Councillor Maidment?
No, thank you.
Any other councillor wishing to enter debate? Councillor Roundtree, you're close.
Close.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Here, moving on to decision report 16. The Public Interest Disclosure Policy Review. I'll go to the interim CEO for a quick comment on this one before we proceed.
Thank you, through the chair. Those who may be more familiar with this being referred to the whistleblower policy. We don't tend to use the word whistleblower so much. It's effectively at the heart of it. So it's the ability for people to information that may accuse or may indicate there's been fraud or maladministration, for that process then to be handled appropriately by the two officers that are appointed. And so those two people are myself and Ben.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions? Recommendation? Is there somebody prepared to move? Thank you, councillor Maidment. Moving, seconded. Thank you, councillor Roundtree. Councillor Maidment, you have the call.
No, nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Roundtree. Any other councillors? Councillor Maidment, you'll close.
Close.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Moving on to decision report 17. Again, I'm going to go to the interim CEO to introduce, and then this is where we'll pick up the conversation from the previous agenda item. To the CEO.
Thank you to the chair. Well, as discussed earlier, this was presented at the policy working group, and there was robust discussion, and in particular around the waste And that matter. So I'm happy to hold, to bring it back to you, Chair.
Thank you.
Discussion.
Councillors, given the indication that a discussion on this might be required, I'm going to suspend meeting procedures again at 11:26. Councillor Roundtree, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, so as part of that discussion at the meeting, I had asked a question around responsibility for waste management, and the response was that it was dealt with in clause 9.3. And I had a read of 9.3 again, and I just didn't think that 9.3 did clarify the question I was asking. So maybe I wasn't clear in my question. The words in there that I don't like are things like council owned or council managed. This is 9.3.1. Council owned or council managed land and facilities make appropriate provision for. What does make appropriate provision for actually mean in practical terms? And then in 9.3.2, where it says council will arrange for, well, does council arrange for, pay for, provide? Like, I just think there's ambiguity in the wording. Now, that might be intentional to allow flexibility, but in this question that I have specifically from football club rooms is, if they need 7 bins and they've only got 4, who provides the other bins? Who pays for them to be emptied? Is that council? Is that the club rooms themselves have to have that bill? Where's the invoice go? That sort of practical. Yes, we're wanting some clarification.
So if I could just re-encapsulate the question, you're asking, in a situation of peak loading, who provides the waste services?
And it's different in our community where we have 1 club but 3 club rooms. And so every home game, that club needs to have all the bins. And for the other clubs, they don't need them during that time. And so you don't necessarily need 10 bins at every club, but at peak times, you're going to need 10 bins at Tintinara, Kinalpin and Meningie. So how do we practically manage that situation?
I'll go to the...
So, I mean, the policy provides you guiding principles. And the guiding principle here is that, let's say a sporting to provide waste facilities and to pay the cost of those waste facilities. They are also often in areas that are council run, council responsibility, such as a skate park and the like. That's where the second clause comes in. So it's referring to the other areas that are more communal, full access. Yeah, that's the principle there. What I'm talking about in terms of those community areas like the skate park or a council playground, that may be in the vicinity of a sporting club, that is a council responsibility. What I would suggest is that there might be a desire to engage with the clubs and have a look at their issues in terms of peak waste management requirements. Do that. I think we probably would still be coming back to the principle of the clubs for the cost of their
And I think that threw him out. They would be okay with that. They're just not sure of what's like, for instance, at Kinalpin, there's a playground there at the Kinalpin Oval, but I believe that playground is council's playground and there's no bin there. So then they would take their rubbish, perhaps, or the netball court rubbish. I think there's one in the netball court, so they might go to the netball court, so they could take their rubbish to the football club. But there is ambiguity there from a club's perspective about the bins.
I think we can deal with that. I think maybe a combination, or even just really with the roads and infrastructure team, one of their team clubs, working through those scenarios. You know, there'd be different solutions. One might be whereby if it's appropriate to provide it, i.e. if it's in a community area, and it may also be some conversations around those peak loads and whether there's anything that council can offer in that respect. And with that, it's not going to, like, in regard, it's probably not going to deal with it. But if we take those principles that council is responsible for the public areas that are, you know,
the other areas that are clearly the sporting
requirements, they are responsible for those. We will try with them as much as possible, keeping those principles in mind.
So through you, Chair, could this be something that was then dealt with in their lease?
Yeah, absolutely.
The opening line, unless otherwise agreed in writing or detailed in any respective lease.
Absolutely, or an MOU or.
So for instance, sorry, Chair. So for instance, at the moment, we're developing a lease with the Action Club.
Mm.
But in addition, we're developing an MOU.
Yeah.
And that MOU, and the reason, one of the reasons we're doing the MOU is we can change that at any given time. Agreement between both parties, but change the lease is quite a task.
Mm.
So that's why we can do things with MOUs and the like and written agreements that are separate from the lease if it isn't covered.
Councillor Arthur.
Yeah, I just point out 9.2 of your council recognise the importance of community value to sporting facilities and community clubs play in rural communities, encouraging health, fitness, social inclusion and community interaction. Now, part of that is, and we're not talking just football clubs, we're talking sporting amenities here, sporting amenities. That as long as I've been on council, that's always been gratis, the rubbish bins at the sporting bodies. Now we put another cost on the sporting bodies, and I can tell you, and anyone tied up with a sporting body at the present moment, it's just getting harder and harder and harder in the country, mainly because of bureaucracy, red tape, and insurances. Just the costs of running are just blowing out. So why can't we say that we will provide a certain amount of bins, yellow and red only, because no sporting body I know of needs a green bin, and show that we do support the sporting facilities in the area, instead of saying, yes, we support them, but we're not going to help them. That is right. The other thing I'd like to mention is this is a great heap of work when virtually all our leases are ground leases. I don't know one lease except if we classify the Meningie office, what do you call it? Coorong Cottage Industries, which we actually own the building. All the rest, we don't own any of the buildings on the land. They're all Crown land, leased from the Crown on a basis of only a stone lease. It's nothing, we don't own any of the buildings, but it refers to buildings and buildings and buildings and buildings. And I don't know, maybe the council can enlighten me on some of the others where we actually do own the buildings. And if we do own the buildings, that would mean we would be responsible for maintenance, wouldn't it?
Thank you, Councillor Arthur. I'll go to the interim CEO before I go to other councils.
That all depends on the lease.
No, they're all ground leases. You show me one that's not a ground lease.
Look, can we possibly, acting Mayor, take that on notice?
We
to
can.
provide another list to her. Because council owned buildings that are leased.
Thank you. That's taken on notice. I'm just noting that Councillor Roundtree left the room at 11:35. Thank you. Councillors, we're in discussion. Meeting procedures are suspended. Is there any other councillors wish to comment or enter discussion on this topic at the moment? Councillor Bland?
I think most of it's been said, and I think the fact that they are multi-use facilities, ball and netball, there's cricket, tennis, and a whole range of things that needs to be taken. And they don't necessarily join with other clubs, so each probably tends to be a little bit individual, the smaller and the larger clubs.
Councillor Moment?
Oh, yes, just wanted to say that I was glad to see the car park situation was sorted out, because that was confusing when we had that meeting, and it was in two different parts of the policy, and now it's set in the one. It's a lot more, it's easier for everybody to understand, and that's what we were after. So that was just a general comment there. Thank you.
Any further councillors wishing to enter conversation on this? Councillors Roundtree and Arthur, can I ask that you give consideration to what you'd like to achieve with the recommendation when we come out of back into meeting procedures?
From my perspective, I think I'm actually okay with it now. I think as long as we can, with the MOUs and in the leases, talk about those things for the clubs. And I think if it's, it's good to have another discussion with them and just really be clear about who's responsible for what, taking into consideration what Councillor Arthur said, in that the red tape and the pressure on clubs to keep going is intense at the moment.
Well, I just like to understand the memorandum of understanding that we're signing instead of leases. Is that why it's saying now we don't sign leases anymore? It's a memorandum of understanding.
So this is in addition to a lease that details more of the particulars that might need to be changed from time to time. Councillors, my suggestion to you would be that when you deal with this item, you ask for a report around existing arrangements with sporting clubs to come back to you with regards to waste.
I've never heard of a MOA before. I've heard a right of entry. Yeah.
Go to the interim CEO.
A lease deals with property. Including miscellaneous issues and various things that come up through an MOU. In many cases, you don't need an MOU. But I did mention about the Lanky and Dewara and the Action Club that an MOU, a lot of things that relate to relationship between the Action Club and council that should not be included in a lease. So hence, we have a lease and an MOU. It's not unusual. Not unusual. It's good practice. That's because it hasn't happened before.
No, that's
Doesn't mean
right.
it's not good practice.
Okay, councillors, I'm going to come back into meeting procedures now at 11:09. Councillors, there's a recommendation at the moment. Councillor Roundtree.
So can we amend that motion then to, or make part 2 that council provide a report, or an admin provide a report back to council on the current arrangements with the 3 existing clubs?
Suggest you broaden that to sporting groups.
Sporting groups, okay. Sporting groups.
The councillor Roundtree is moving that way, that the policy be adopted, and further to that, that a report regarding existing arrangements for waste collection be provided to councillors. Is there a second for that motion?
On 9.3.
Sorry?
That on 9.3, the waste management.
So this is asking, in moving the entire policy, asking that a further report be given to councillors regarding existing waste collection practices with community groups.
9.3 in here.
In that, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Relates to, yes. Do I have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Councillor Arthur seconding. Councillor Roundtree? Paul?
I have nothing further to add.
Thank you, Councillor Arthur. Any other councillors wishing to enter debate? Being none, Councillor Roundtree, you'll close. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Councillor Arthur is seconded and carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to decision report 18. Noting that this isn't to pass the policy around camping, caravanning and recreational vehicles, but to put it out for consultation to the interim CEO.
Thank you. This over the last few months, including consultation with the Alpine Caravan Park. quite content with what's being presented. So really now it's to put it out to the community consultation. I think it's big.
Thank you. Councillor Bland, do you have a question?
I do. I'll start with campfires, in that we're actually indicating in point 1 that may only be lit within an approved constructed concrete fire pad. We know full well that, for example, Narung, that doesn't happen. There's often multiple. It was discussed out there on site at one point. So I guess my question is, given that that is frequent use campsite, free campsite, are we actually going to put 1 or 2 of these in and have some designated areas where people camp or place their RVs, etc., safely? Because this indicates that this is what we will be doing. I don't have a great problem with it, but yeah. I think the same probably goes. We probably need to look at our picnic area on Warrangy Road and probably not have campfire, making sure the signage around no campfires, given the location of the property next door, the old Warrangy woolshed. So I think there's probably a couple of things that if we're going to, we need to make it actionable and considered in the budget. We're putting these in as soon as possible.
Thank you, Councillor Bland. I'll go to the interim CEO.
Thank you. So through the chair, I'll go to the point where you drive. So this policy covers areas that are designated for camping and for RVs.
About Warrangy Drive next to not Warrangy Drive in Meningie itself. Warrangy Drive is
something to come under this policy. Council designates, i.e. Narung, as campground.
Okay.
Or as an area that is an RV area, and that's under council's care and control. This policy, in fact, then helps us with any areas that we don't want to have any camping occur, that we can clamp down on that. But also in regards to Narung, obviously our attention at the moment is at Kinalpin and developing the Kinalpin precinct. Now, that will undoubtedly result in a series of works that could be undertaken. We could potentially get grants for that as well. I would be reasonably confident we can get some grants for that. And also, I think then we're creating a template that we could swing very quickly onto Narung. And yes, we would have to do some work at Narung in terms of, fire pits and the like. Remember, the other thing that we look like we're heading to is ticketed camp. So there's a bit of work to do, but at the moment we're concentrating on Kinalpin, but Narung's the next.
And if I might just
Councillor Bland,
make a further comment, and that is that appropriate signage for each of the individual sites, because it's not one size fits all. So a comment about appropriate signage in the policy, I think, is important, because no location is the same, whether it be Intanara, Kinalpin, Meningie, Talon Bend, wherever we have it. I think whether you believe it needs to be in there or not, I just feel that wherever we go, signage is the key to making sure people are aware of their responsibility.
thank you. Any other questions at this point? Councillor says recommend. Councillor Hara.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just think, and I agree with what Miles just said, but the Narung one in particular, this winter, I think we need someone to get out there and have a look at it, because they're lighting fires all over the place and there'll be no lawn left soon. But they'll keep doing it if it's not policed. So we need someone to get out there and say, hey, you've got a designated area, use that, not just light a fire wherever.
The interim CEO.
Through the chair, one of the things is that we haven't had a policy. So if you approve, if this goes out, comes back, and in 6 weeks' time is approved, all of a sudden, under the local government, we can take action. So our general inspectors had difficulties with being able to require people to take appropriate action, because
If he's challenged, he hasn't got the
law behind him. But this process, very importantly, allows that Local Government Act authority to be established.
I know that, but
Councillor.
still has to be policed.
Oh, yes.
Any other questions? Councillors, recommendation. Councillor Roundtree, you're seeking to move.
Yes.
Is there a seconder? Thank you, councillor Maidment. Councillor Roundtree, you have the call.
Nothing further to add.
Thank you, councillor Maidment, you have the call.
Nothing further, thank you.
Any other councillors wishing to enter debate? There being none, councillor Roundtree, you close.
Closed.
Put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. I'm going to go to the interim CEO for decision report 19 for an introduction.
Thank you to the chair. So this item, which you're very familiar with because we've been talking about is, we, in accordance with council's previous desires, we're moving towards council's able to no longer be under the Retirement Villages Act with the buildings. But one of the steps to do that would be, is to change the community land management plan to that effect. As this has gone out to consultation and has come back, and there's been a really strong feedback from the community to say that the preference should be for elderly people to be accommodated in these buildings. So taking that into account, we have written in clauses that preference would be given to older people. However, if the demand's not there, we'd want the ability to put a tenant in that building on a short-term agreement, so that we're not got an empty unit. So that's the main feedback and the main adjustment we've made to the community land management plan.
Thank you. Councillor Bland, do you have a question?
When you're talking short term, can you just sort of give me a bit of a timeframe?
12
We're
months.
talking 12 months.
Maybe 12 months. We would not like to be in a position where it was much longer than that. I wouldn't contemplate anything more than 2 years, but at this moment, I'll be thinking 12 months.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just,
Councillor Arthur?
yeah, just, once this goes out to consultation,
It's gone out to consultation.
oh, sorry, Glenn,
And it's come back.
what happens then?
So what happens now is, now we've got some items that are confidential. So there's some confidential items that you've considered previously. I won't now, but you'll get a report next month that steps through the next process that, as I said before, is in line with the desire to move forward and remove council from the obligations of the Retirement Villages Act.
Yeah.
So we end up being under the Residential Tenancies Act, but we'd have this clause that ensures that preference is given to older.
Thank you. Any further questions?
I'm assuming elderly disabled.
The language currently says retirees.
It's, we don't, so through the chair, it's been a long time where these have been empty.
I'm aware. I'm
And I
just
wanna
thinking
be
in
able
terms
to
of
have
being
some
holistic, you're
flexibility.
looking at elderly and or disabled. You may find a young motorbike accident victim in a wheelchair that still will be better off in a unit rather than a major. I'm just being.
If,
The CEO has a call.
yeah, I'd contemplate a change if that's your desire.
Sorry,
I'd contemplate a change if that's your desire.
I think we.
I don't think so. You go out there, you got no facilities, you got no one to look after.
Mm.
And that's why they've
Hang
been
on.
vacant.
Councillor Bland has a call.
I'm sorry, I think that at any point, any family, young or old, can end up with a disability in their family where they can live independently. And we see that even in Menengi, not a lot of support there either, but support can be given depending on what system they're under. Now, I know that it's difficult, but I'm just saying it's a word that needs to be inclusive. Right, that's my personal opinion.
Thank you, councillor Moment. You have the
But
floor.
just to add to that, I think these buildings aren't fit for purpose for anybody with a disability. The cost would be phenomenal to get them up to scratch. Plus, there's a whole new legislation that you'll have to be under in order to run it like that. So I don't agree with councillor Bland allowing disability, and it's not because I don't think there's a need, it's because the legislation and the building itself doesn't lend itself to it.
I'm
That's
happy
my
with
opinion.
whichever way council goes. I just think you need to change it at some point.
That's okay.
Language at the moment, the change language states, purpose for which land is held is to be used as leased residential units with preference to be given to retirees. That's the addition on the back of the public consultation. Any further questions? Clarification. Thank you, Justin. If you would come to a microphone.
I'd like to make a quick comment that the practicalities of it are that there's not going to be multiple people lining up to say, if there's someone and it's available, we'll be slotting them in. Yeah, but if there was to be two people, as it says, that the retiree would be preferred, but we haven't had any retirees in the last couple of years. We've tried a few times, so yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. There's no further questions. We have a recommendation, councillors.
Well, can I just ask a
Councillor,
question?
sorry.
Because that comprehends what we've been being told. We've been being told that there's a huge demand for houses in Tinanara.
So the current requirement is quite strict in terms of who would be eligible.
I understand that, but if we move this forward, and then Justin's saying that we won't have that many people on.
I might answer that.
I'll go to the
No.
answer sound.
Arthur was saying,
I might answer that.
You find from time to time that people will say, there's not enough housing in a town. And then you'll go out and do something like we're doing currently with the airfield land, and you don't get any response. And it does make me think, what is the truth? The fact is, you know, we've got 4 units here, 2 of them occupied, 2 of them vacant. I think with these changes, importantly, what this is doing, the leasing council from the Department of Villages Act, which is just doesn't make sense. And it gives them the opportunity for council to test the market in terms of rental. It is not the end of the story, because remember, we go right back, and I said we've been talking about this for at least 2 years. We looked at a range of options. What this does is frees council up from quite a binding where, and with the feedback from the community saying that these should be for older people, we're giving that opportunity. It might be with the new chamber in a year or 2, they look at it again, and if there hasn't been any take up, they've got the opportunity then to fresh eyes consider.
Does that answer the question, councillor? Okay, we have a recommendation. Councillor Arthur, you're moving the recommendation. Is there a seconder? Councillor Moment, moved Arthur, seconded Moment. Councillor Arthur, you have the call.
Yeah, I think we've been over this quite a few times. You know, you've got units sitting there for 2 years empty. So let's get out and use them.
Councillor Moment,
Nothing to add, thank you.
any other councillors wish to enter debate? Councillor Arthur, you'll close. Put the motion, all those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Dalton District Soldiers Memorial Swimming Pool and Caravan Park Committee minutes. Councillors, there's a recommendation. Councillor Roundtree, you're moving.
Yes.
Thank you. I have a mover. Is there a seconder for the recommendation to receive and note? Thank you, Councillor Mayment. Councillor Roundtree, you have the call.
Nothing further to add.
Thank you, Councillor Mayment.
No, nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors wishing to speak? Councillor Roundtree will close.
Closed.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Decision report 21, the LAP minutes held 23rd of March. Council's recommendation. Councillor Arthur, you'll move.
Yep.
Seconder. Councillor Bland. Councillor Arthur, you have the call.
I think they're self-explanatory.
You, Councillor Bland.
Meeting, actually.
No comment.
Thank you. Councillor
I
Moment.
did have one little quick comment, if I may.
Go for it.
I noted here that in the minutes it says present Andrew Hansen, community member, and then he says apologies, Andrew Hansen. Are there two Andrew Hansens or is that an error?
I think that might be an error, so we might
There's
note
only
that.
one.
There's only one that I know anyway.
We'll get that corrected.
That would be unusual.
Okay.
Very unusual. Noting Councillor Moment's pickup, any other comments? Councillor Arthur, you're close.
Close. Close.
Thank you.
He wasn't there.
I'll put the motion with all those in favour. Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Decision report 22, the Coorong Community Health Advancement and Advisory Committee, minutes of the meeting held 14th of April. The recommendation to receive a note and appoint the chair. Any questions, councillors? Being none, Councillor Rantry, you're moving.
Yes.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Maidment. Councillor Rantry, you have the call.
Nothing further to add.
Thank you, Councillor Maidment.
No, nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors? Councillor Rantry, you'll close.
Yes.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Final decision report 23. Notes of the meeting for the Governance and Policy Review Working Group. Councillors, there's a recommendation. I have somebody to move. Thank you, Councillor Maidment.
Do have a comment too.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Bland. Councillor Maidment, you have the call.
Yes, I do. There's my reading may be incorrect, but appointment of acting chair. There's Councillor Maidment nominated by Councillor Roundtree. I think it's the other way around. Councillor Roundtree was nominated by Councillor Maidment.
Thank you.
Very good point.
So,
Other than that, there's nothing further from me.
thank you. The recommendation can be changed to note a variation required.
Mr Mayor, can I make a comment?
Councillor Bland.
And that is in relation to the working group and staff about how much work has been achieved in a short period of time. In overall general sense, well done.
Thank you, Councillor Bland.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a bit of a week.
Any other councillors wish to enter debate? Waiting for the words to appear on the screen. Thank you. Councillor Maidment, are you happy with that variation to reflect your concern with the variation of appointment of acting chair?
Yep. Fine, I don't think we actually have to put what it was, do we? That'll cover.
I think that'll cover. Councillor Bland, you happy with the variation? That becomes the motion. Councillor Maidment, you'll close.
I'll close, thanks.
Put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. The motion is carried unanimously. Councillors, I'm going to suspend meeting procedures at 12 o'clock for 10 minutes for a break before we deal with the decision report, before we deal with the information reports. And if we could just pause the recording. and the recording will recommence. Thank you. Councillors, information reports, Office of the Chief Executive Officer. Any questions? Councillor Corman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through the chair to the Director of Roads and Infrastructure. The very last page on the CEO's report. Questions without notice that I raised last ordinary meeting about the completion date of the car park here at Tarlin Bend Railway Terrace. Can the Director give us some idea of completion date, please, now?
To the Director.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Coleman. Through the chair, I think we're about 2 weeks off completion date, so being early, subject to weather and rain and things like that. But they still seem to be able to progress. They're finalising the last bit of concrete works. They've started forming some of the pavement ready for asphalt. Yeah, at this stage we're anticipating.
Thank you. Councillor Coleman, do you have any further comment?
If I may, I suppose, Mr Mayor, through the chair to direct again, and just for the Chamber's information, a quite positive meeting with the chairperson of the local RSL regarding any parking issues. That's correct, isn't it? Been okay?
Yeah, through the chair, yes, I met with the president of the Tarlin Bend RSL on Friday afternoon. Really good discussion. He actually indicated that he'd forgotten about the other car park down near the railway station, so he felt a little bit. Look, he apologised for citing that. I said that's fine. Like we still, I've provided some mapping. We're going to put some information up on our socials and website just around quarantining some of those close parks for disabled or less abled, and some drop-off zones so that people can be dropped close. So he was more than happy with the outcome. We will share our socials with them and they'll put up on their Facebook page as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillors, there's a recommendation. If there's no further questions, Councillor Coleman. Moving. You'll move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Mayment. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. That was moved. Coleman, seconded Mayment. Moving on to information report 11.2, community. We have the Acting Community and Corporate Director with us today for the first time. Thank you, Bill. Councillors, any questions? Thank you, Councillor Rowntree.
With the org chart and the fact that our planning officer is moving on, what sort of disruption is that going to cause for the council in the short term?
Through the chair, I'd like
Go
to
to the interim CEO.
considering that
Planning still reports to me.
Yep.
So
we're fortunate enough that we have
established relationships, good relationships with consultants who
think it's very good value, and they've one of our consultants who
and as that work has matured, we've been able
utilise that consultant to back up the absence.
of the planning officers left, and we've also got another consultant who we use on a regular
To engage, and that should not result in any
financial impost. Or moving forward, whilst we will commence recruitment. There are more jobs than people available.
get off a very good mark.
However, we will go. What I'm comfortable with is the consultancy support has been really well embedded. Worst case scenario, if I have to rely on that extended period, it'll be fine. They're doing a great job. We've got
disruption to what we're trying
no
to achieve.
disruption. In fact, we've got more development applications coming in, as you've seen through the statistics. And to be able to have the consultancy guys, I really quite seen very good at their job, very good with the public. So I'm the service bit, right, not be.
Thank you. Councillor Moment, you have a call?
Yes, just further on to that subject. Given your glowing report of, is it financially responsible to replace the officer?
So CEO.
Through the chair, look, I always prefer to have that in. It's a very good question. In some councils further away from Adelaide than us, they rely completely not being able to get planning officers because of the distance, not talking Riverland type councils. The embed themselves in district, the community, rather than a consult. I can't guarantee the consultants would be with us. Good chance the planning officer will be.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors? There being none, there is a recommendation that council receives a note of the report. Do I have a mover? Thank you, councillor Roundtree. Seconder. Thank you, councillor Bland. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Moving up the roads and infrastructure report. Councillors, questions? Final call for questions. Councillor Quallen.
The page 127 of the hard copy, automotive standpipe upgrade. Can the director, through the chair of Director of Roads and Infrastructure, give us some explanation how they're going to work and are they any good, or give us some insight, please? Been talking about it.
Thank you to the director.
Through the chair, I hope they're good. They should be. No, they're very good proprietary product used by many water supply entities across Australia. They're from Western Australia, which is the product where we landed through the RFQ process. Essentially we've got 6 sites selected where we can retrospectively fit them. They are standalone units. They'll have, I think, 3 different hose type outlets. So anyone from a bulk water carrier to a caravan can hook up their connecting hose and get the water supplied to them as they need it. Pay wave type model to make the payment. There are other options to, if we so choose down the future, and I'm not saying that we would, but there are other options to, have fobs and accounts and things like that, so that you can get a monthly account. There's all those sorts of opportunities, but for now I think we keep it simple. But yes, I think 3 out of the 6 have been delivered. So we're just making arrangements to get them installed and operational.
Thank you. Starts a couple more questions. Thank you. So I'm just thinking out the square of, all this modern stuff we have. Is this got a hi-fi, Wi-Fi, what do you call it? You can see what's going on. Does it talk to you back to you, or you got to go get readings, or how does it monitor how much you're using? Please?
So I mean, ultimately, it'll be adjacent to a meter supply that we have. So we pay for the usage overall.
Yes,
We can set the charge figure to be whatever we like
yeah,
per kilolitre. And, generally speaking, it'll be a percentage above SA Water. And yes, there'll be like a online visual dashboard that we can view and monitor all units, understand how much is going through them, things like that. Yep.
excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Bland, then O'Hara.
Yes, I'm going to just make a couple of comments on the Meningie photos that are in this section here. I really do like the way the photos come up of the new sign, that it's slightly angled. That's because it is. Not quite that bad though. But when you sit in front of it, it definitely is not well placed. Please leave a car in front of it. The bricks in the toilet, is that showing a bigger problem of an infrastructure failure long term? And that toilet's been there now a few years. Is there a bigger issue?
The Director.
Through the chair, I don't believe there's a bigger issue. I think we've just got several toilets of similar. We've had similar issues at a toilet in Tintinara, just where those very edge bricks just can come loose. They just need re-sticking. And
Okay, I was just worried more about infrastructure.
Yep.
And I make another, this is a little bit like a brickbat really. I've mentioned it a number of times, is that you mow the Lions Park, edge of the path, and you actually put the mower on the right side. You don't have to go back and blow it off. I'm sorry, I have to say that because I've actually mentioned it multiple times in the past. And my biggest problem is the management, the playground hazard. As a councillor, I wasn't aware that we had an audit and that it was a hazard, and to find that it was removed without, I understand, Councillor O'Hara, myself, or any other councillor knowing that it's already been taken out. My knowledge, there is no planning at this point to go back in. This was a park that was designed around basically a nature playground section of it, particularly around little children who can walk from stump to stump, walk across a bar, wooden bar, etc. Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't have come out. I'm saying no planning, no idea. I'm dull, but I think it's important that we know about these things.
Thank you. I'm just going to note there that this has come up in the past and councillors have requested to be involved in this as recently as last year. We could take that on notice, please, in terms of the engagement, because it's happened at Tintinara now as well as Meningie, to ensure that there is some consultation before action taken. Sure. Councillor O'Hara.
Right, yeah, I just want to first give an accolade for Nerang Road, the work that's been done on there. Terrific. Secondly, no accolade for our Premier, who's declared he's going to allow trucks to be run heavier. He's going to allow them to pull another trailer. Now, this Nerang Road was built in 1980, right? And it's been serviced the public very well since 1980 for 45 years. All of a sudden, they're letting these trucks out there, road trains, AB doubles and everything out there. And if you go to page 130 on our thing here, you'll see exactly the problem where the big holes where the back trailer drops off the road, and when it comes back onto the road, it rips a piece of bitumen out. Right? Now, I've owned transport all my life, and I agree with bigger trucks and road trains. But if our Premier is going to allow road trains to go on our country roads, council-owned roads, then he needs to put some money up and put some money into our council so that we can maintain these roads, because he's allowing them to be wrecked to give him a vote.
Thank you, Councillor O'Hara. I will note that this was raised as a concern with me by administration during the week. Councillor O'Hara, when we get to the motion on this, you might want to consider putting something in there. Any further questions or concerns? Thank you, Councillor Moment.
Yes, thank you. And through you, page 127, the photos of the stormwater flood event at Taylor Bend, Trevina Road and Station Drive. This area, as long as I've been sitting here, has always been a problem. Now I don't know how we're going to address it. And I know it probably took 44 mils for this to happen. But I wonder how many stats there would be on how often this happens and whether it's worth fixing.
Thank you to the Director.
Thank you, Councillor Moment, through the chair. I guess, I mean, what's there to say? We're well aware of the issue. We're going to provision some service, stand the lay of the land. That is the first piece of work to then try and devise a problem-solving solution. I'm not going to beat around the bush though. This, you know, to solve this problem, we need a bigger basin, we need bigger pipes, and we need more pits, all of which is not there. And so it would be brand new work. We would be talking in excess of $500,000. So we will progress in the background, understanding what we can do to solve this. And, you know, at some point we will have what we think is a deliverable project that we perhaps try and find some grant funding for or the like. But yeah, I mean, it's just a lack of infrastructure that's causing this issue, or a lack of suitable infrastructure.
Yeah, and when we went to Taberefta the other day, it was raised there by a couple of the residents with the drainage there as well, and that all is, I understand it, all part of this area that's just sheet rock underneath it as well, which wouldn't be helping. So, all right, that's all for me.
Thank you, Councillor Moment. Any further questions? Councillor Bland.
I'm very pleased to see some work happening on the Old Town Hall of Meningie, the CCI building as it's known, which I understand is on a peppercorn lease. Is this the completion of all works, or is there a significant list once there was an inspection? I understand not a lot of work had been done for a long time on this building. Do we have a long list on this building?
The Director.
Yeah, thanks through the chair. There is a long list, and what we've tried to action is the most critical things, like things that are water ingress issues and things like that. We've tried to resolve them as fast as we can. There is still some further things that are, I guess, as you start prioritising, a little more discretionary, a little more aesthetic in a sense, and then there are some longer term things that are going to cost a more considerable sum of money. So we'll just continue to bite off all those lists, or that list and items as we can. But as you can see here, joints and facades have been fixed that were letting water in and things like that as an immediate.
So can I ask through Mr.
Councillor Bland,
that these significant buildings that are our responsibility, that a list of concerns or their current problems be brought to Infrastructure Committee?
Yeah, can do.
To be made fully aware of what our liability on these buildings, few of them.
Yeah.
so taken on notice, Councillor.
You want a report to Roads and Infrastructure, or do you want me to just circulate out of session?
No, I think we should have it going to road. These buildings are significant. They need long-term maintenance and repair and yes, they're going to cost money over time, but we've got our hall next door here that I don't know what else needs to be done. If we've got a report, then council should know. It can be a standing item, I think, in infrastructure.
To the interim CEO.
And through the chair, I think it's a very good idea to have that information provided, but also in addition, give the estimated costs as well. And also if there's any issues that would because I know next door here, I think maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and they would have been the next on the list after we did the foyer here. And so I'll work with Joel and make sure.
And I think, to be clear, if I may, Mr. Mayor, is that I actually don't know how much we spend on some of these buildings that are significant buildings that are ageing in our community, but we need them for our community use to have a full access and egress no matter what. So I just don't know what we've been spending on our halls overall over time and what the long-term liability is. It's not that I want to see them change. I just want a full
Yeah.
picture.
Thank you. Any further questions? Being none. Recommendation, councillor O'Hara, did you want to write a strongly worded letter?
Not really worth it. I can write to you personally if you want.
Council should write.
Council should write it.
Yeah. MRLGA.
We do have an MRLGA meeting later in the week if you wanted to advance at that level.
Sorry.
We've got a Murraylands and Riverland Local Government Association meeting on Friday if you wanted us to take it up at that level.
Oh, yeah.
I could certainly put that in my
That's very
report there and ask for it to be advanced.
Yeah,
Could the motion include that council formulate a strongly worded letter requesting that if the Premier's wish is to see road trains, that extra funding is given to councils to deal with the damage done to their roads? I think that's actually, you raised a really important point, and I think what you're lacking is probably the words to formulate a motion, but your intent's correct. So I think we need to put that in there somewhere, that we express, we express financial support to deal with roads damaged. Oh, you're gonna have to fix this up, potential road damage caused by extending, what do you call it? Extending the length of trucks or
Weight and length.
weight of trucks being pulled on our roads.
Yep.
No.
To the interim CEO, comment?
through the chair, the other thing that really bothered me,
No consultation with the
Exactly.
owners of the roads, the council.
no, that really bothered me.
The lack of,
When it came up,
I just don't think he understands it.
And I do understand the crisis of the fuel supply. I understand.
understand that, but for councils to effectively learn
Isn't good enough. And
We should be saying that to him as well. I think we should be
Yeah.
saying our disappointment of having not being involved in the consultation and the ramifications of this decision.
He's got-
If nothing else.
Got the NHVR in him as well. And since they've come in, they've let trucks go, road trains and AB doubles and that go everywhere. And go anywhere virtually. And some of the roads that they're allowed on, is not safe, to be honest.
I was going to bring that up.
And
Not
Safety
safe for
for
the
other
drivers,
road
not
users as well.
safe for people that are coming the other direction.
he's jumped on the NHVR bandwagon and said, well, I'm going to allow you to do this because it'll save fuel, you know, and I don't care what we wreck, but
This could also, through you, Steve, come up at the state LGA conference. If we could,
So I'll take
don't
it
get
up.
me wrong, the transport companies, they pay the money for those roads to be fixed. In fuel tax, they pay the money,
Yeah,
but the government don't put that
Allocate
money
it.
where it should be.
Yeah, I think that what you raised is a really strong message, and I think we need to get right around that.
well, they do spend
And
money,
so-
South Road.
Councillors, would it, councillor Roundtree, are you moving? So?
Yes, I will move it.
And are you also seeking to put in their frustration around lack of consultation?
Absolutely.
maybe something to the effect of
to the chair, right to the SA Premier expressing disappointment
At the lack of consultation to the owners of the roads that are going to be impacted by his decision.
but we won't be able to meet community and safe expectations.
No.
You certainly can't.
Can't do it now.
No.
Disappointment at the. So councillor Roundtree, are you comfortable with the motion as it reads?
Especially as part of the lack of consultation of the road place. The fact to do with the road damage caused by state councils. Lack of consultation with councils.
I'd put on South Australian council roads.
On South Australian country roads. So the word country between Australian and roads.
Yeah.
No, I'm happy with that.
Maintained by council.
Yeah, you put maintained by council at the end of roads. Yeah. At the end of roads, put maintained by council. That is our cost.
So have a two-part motion to receive and note the report and deal with matter arising from the report. Forward by Councillor O'Hara. Councillor O'Hara, are you seconding? Yep. So moved Councillor Roundtree, seconded Councillor O'Hara. Councillor Roundtree, you have the call.
Nothing further to add, thank you.
Councillor O'Hara. Any other
I'll just
councillors?
say I probably will have all my transport mates on my back, but I don't care. They need to understand.
Thank you. Any other councillors wishing to enter debate?
May I just suggest you put the minister in as well? And the minister.
Mover and seconder, happy to vary.
Yep. Yep.
Minister. Thank you. Second is happy with that. If no further councillors wish to enter debate, Councillor Roundtree, you'll close.
Please.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to questions with notice. There are two questions with notice. Sorry, just jumped. Councillor Arthur.
Yep. Thank you very much for the answer there. I believe originally it was going to be a little bit more than that, I think. So that's, if we can say, you know, $200 odd a week to look after the toilet is good value. It is, but thanks. Thank you all. I've got to do with that.
Just on that, Mr. Mayor, can I just ask, that is actually for the actual toilet itself, not for the whole,
I believe so.
not the whole parking bay?
Through the chair,
Yeah.
yes, that is for the toilet. The total project was 3 point something
Yeah.
million dollars. Yeah.
Thank you. Any further questions from councillors in relation to the first question of notice? Councillor Arthur, the second question.
Yeah, second question, very in-depth report there. It's turned out a pretty expensive project that's against the budgeted item, but it'll be interesting to see when we, over a period of, you know, years, whether it is an exercise that may be worthwhile doing in the future, even though it was probably, you know, roughly a 20% increase and a bit more than that, 25% increase in costs.
Thank you. I'll go to the director.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair. Look, it's not going to be all and sundry. This is going to be very, I guess, location, site, rubble specific. If I may, it is an extra cost. But you know what the analysis was here was that, well, if we were to go and haul the suitable rubble from a location, adding that with the additional time to complete the project, because we are having to haul it from so far away and extra staff time on site and things like that, cost was comparable. So, you know, it was, I guess, seen as an opportunity to just, I guess, trial a new product that we've not experienced before, where you can just buy a product and we can apply it ourselves. Every, I guess, opportunity for this in the past has been you have to engage the company, they come and do it for you at costs of $50,000 to $100,000 a kilometre, on top of your cost to do the resheet as well. So it was the first time we come across something that we thought was even remotely feasible to consider. We did the analysis. We felt that on balance, you know, the reduction of truck numbers through Meningie instead of hauling it from Chapman's Pit, but just finding it on site was the positive. We had some extra water cart hire there just due to the dry nature of the material, because we crushed it and used it immediately. There was no residual moisture in the material at all, which is what you get when your material sits on the ground for 6 months and has a winter on it, and you get a bit of moisture in your stockpiles. So look, it'll be interesting. As I always say, you want to almost 2 years of seasons on it just to see how it handles, how it settles down, how we go in terms of maintenance grading it. But I guess, look, on the whole, we see some pretty positive results with it. Took the staff a little bit of time to sort of get familiar with how to apply the products and work the material. But yeah, time will tell.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors, on this question? Thank you for the report. Moving on to 12.2, questions without notice. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Arthur?
Yes, could I, further to the discussion earlier, could the staff provide the details of the increase required, provide a balanced budget for the 26-27 financial year?
And that'll have to be taken on notice.
Sorry?
That'll have to be taken on notice.
Yep. Yeah, well, there's questions without, yeah, the question without notice it is. Yeah, so if we could have that, that modelling.
Any further questions without notice? Percentage rate increase, I believe. You. Moving on to motions with notice, councillor Arthur. Disposal of maintenance rollers.
Yes, I'd just like to move that motion that we dispose of these graders and in conjunction with the interim CEO's report. This has been something that's been bandied around for, I don't know how many years, 2 to 3 years. It was probably 2 years since any of these rollers have been used. And I just thought if we get it on the books, it's in the action list, it'll get done. Instead of dropping off down the back, everyone forgetting about it all the time.
Is there a second of the motion? Councillor O'Hara. Thank you. Interim CEO wishes to make comment.
No.
So move councillor Arthur, second councillor O'Hara. Councillor Arthur, you have the call.
Yep. Also within that report, there is about the new roller. I think it's imperative that we really do get the roller that can tow the AU behind. Because I would ask to see the Director of Infrastructure and Assets, the present way the things are happening, how much diesel are we using in Freeport, running back and forwards all the time, you know, not grading, having to go back, you start here and you have to go back to your ute every time. And then we send people down to shift the ute after a while. But the amount of diesel that we're using running back and forwards, it's got to be, you know, like it's a fair amount before the increase in, but it's going to be pretty.
Thank you. Councillor O'Hara, you have the call.
Man, why don't we just get electric scooter for the driver? Yeah.
I'll take that as a facetious comment. Councillor O'Hara, do you have anything on the motion? No. Any other councillors wishing to enter debate? Councillor Arthur, you'll close.
Finished.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Moving on to the second motion with notice. Councillor Arthur, you're moving.
Well, it's probably at this stage, I would say it's no longer required. But once again, this was one of those things that's been bandied around for some 2 or 3 years and it never gets around to get done. So that's why I put it on. And it's good to see because with the details that I received from staff once again regarding costs of the caravan park and the Canalpin pool, you know, like it just doesn't make sense where the caravan park uses $17,000 worth of water and the caravan park uses 8. I think they've been transposed, which could be a bit, you know, electricity. Well, the caravan park uses next to nothing. $88 for the year. So,
So councillor Arthur, noting that the work to separate out the
yeah,
electricity.
yeah.
You're-
Just the question, it has been mentioned that.
Sorry, before I go to questions, you're withdrawing the motion?
Right.
You're withdrawing the motion?
Yeah, might as well, because electricity's underway.
I'll take a question.
I feel still like looking at the other.
Councillor Arthur, I'll take the question.
Yeah, no, that's all right. That's all right. I'll
Thank you. Motion is withdrawn. Moving on to 13.2, motions without notice. Any motions without notice? There being none, we'll move on to item 14. The minute action list. Councillors, are there any questions for the minute action list? Councillor Roundtree?
So this just relates to what I'd raised before. It was 1526 and it was, that was the request to amend the LGA Act to allow ordinary meetings to be conducted online on days of declared or forecast extreme weather events. How do we progress it and can it be brought up through the upcoming LGA AGM? So that was what I had referred to earlier, but that was the, you looked for the minute, that was the one, 1526.
Thank you. Any other questions from the minute action list, councillors? There being none, that brings to a close the council meeting for today at 12:47.
Just, Mr Mayor, got a couple of questions in confidence, is that?
Yeah, so the live stream will be ending now. And this is the close of the council meeting at 12:47.